He escaped a plane crash with just minor injuries. Tonight, the pilot tells us what happened in the minutes just before his plane went down.
A Lexington neighborhood wants drivers to slow down. We'll show you their creative approach to get their point across to drivers.
How this man was lured into a mystery shopper scam that cost him $1,300. How to avoid falling victim to the same scheme coming up.
Tracking, alerting, protecting. This is WKYT News at 5:30.
Good afternoon and thanks for watching. He walked away from a plane crash with just a few scratches. James Board says he had just taken off from an airport in Boyle County when his plane went down along US 127.
The Federal Aviation Administration is in central Kentucky tonight investigating what caused the plane to crash. Sean Moody is talking to Board, who says he built the plane. Sean has our top story at 5:30.
A representative from the FAA has been out here today trying to figure out what went wrong with the airplane. The pilot told me that shortly after takeoff, the airplane stopped climbing. James Board had been looking forward to yesterday for a while. It was going to be the first flight of his home-built Zenith airplane.
6 years of building it, and I enjoyed it. Yeah, I enjoyed every bit of it. The whole time you building process, you're wondering, well, is it going to fly right? Is it going to be controllable?
He got an answer to that question pretty quickly. As he was climbing out of nearby Stuart Powell Field, he ran into trouble.
It was kind of holding its own, but it wouldn't gain any.
Board said he'd gotten up to about 350 feet, and his emergency training kicked in. The old saying among pilots is that you want to fly the airplane as far into the crash as possible. Basically, do everything you can right up until the point of impact.
I kept trying to keep away from houses and anything, other than open fields. So it led me to here, and I was looking at the highway because I didn't think I could make it back to the airport. And so I looked at the highway, and it was a lot of traffic. So I spotted this field, and that's where I was heading. And of course, I clipped the electric line behind you. And there's where I wound up, in them little cherry trees. I think the electric line and the cherry trees kind of took the impact up because I didn't hit hard.
Board walked away from that crash last night with just some scratches on his hands and a bruise on his shoulder. The FAA will try to figure out what went wrong with the airplane, and Board thinks his home building days might be done.
I told one of my flying friends yesterday, I said, I think I'll just leave the flying up to you.
In Boyle County, Sean Moody, WKYT.
Board says he's been flying for about 19 years.
After some great weather this weekend, we are tracking some more rounds of showers and storms moving across the region. Chief Meteorologist Chris Bailey has an early look at your forecast. Chris?
Yeah, Amber, scattered is the name of the storm game out there today. In between those storms, we've got some very nice conditions showing up across central and eastern Kentucky. Temperatures not bad at all. 79 Corbin, 81 Lexington, Richmond. How about the capital city of Frankfort at 83 degrees? Now, everyone, at least these locations, we've had at least a spotty shower thunderstorm. Not a whole lot to write home about. And those temperatures, upper 70s, low 80s, most areas. Humidity, those up there. It makes it feel a little warmer than it actually is. Here is Defender. Not a big concentration of showers and storms that we're tracking, though I suspect we'll have a little more development coming up over the next few hours. We are still ahead of a cold front. That little shower between Springfield and Lebanon holding its own. Stuff to the north of Georgetown weakening. Storms into eastern and southeastern Kentucky slowly scooting on away from the bluegrass state. When I come back in a few minutes, we're going to focus on a couple of fronts that are getting ready to blast into the bluegrass state, and it's a blast of September air that will follow those fronts. I'm the bearer of good news for a change, coming up in about 10 minutes.
A grand jury will hear the case of a central Kentucky murder suspect. Our county-by-county coverage at 5:30 begins in Jessamine County. Thomas Carson is accused of killing Shane Washington last month. Police say Carson attacked Washington with an axe. The judge sent the case to the grand jury today for a possible indictment. According to our partners at the Herald Leader, detectives testified that Washington died of blunt force trauma from multiple wounds caused by multiple instruments. They also say Washington went to Carson's property to confront him about an allegation that Carson had sexually assaulted Washington's fiancée. In Hardin County, a man accused of beating his 4-month-old son to death answered to a murder charge today. Detectives say Daniel Cox beat his son while he was driving on Dixie Highway. They say Cox then left the baby in the driveway of his mother's home in Radcliffe. We're told Cox did not say anything in court today during his arraignment. A judge set his preliminary hearing for Friday. In Pulaski County, deputies are still investigating what caused a crash that injured 5 people, including 3 children. The crash happened yesterday on Highway 90. Deputies say a Toyota Sequoia that was hauling a camper was hit by a Honda Passport that crossed the center line. 2 people in the Sequoia were taken to the hospital. The driver of the Passport, 16-year-old Hashan Perkins, and his 14-year-old passenger and 10-year-old passenger were all taken to UK Hospital. The 10-year-old was thrown from the Passport. We do not know his condition tonight. Perkins and the 14-year-old are listed in fair condition.
They are reminding drivers to slow down. People living in one Lexington neighborhood are taking the last couple of days before school starts to make sure drivers watch out for children. Rebecca Smith shows us how they are getting their message across in a story that's new at 5:30.
We have a huge group of children that walk to Ashland, and we just really want them to feel safe.
Moms like Jared Jones know when school starts back Wednesday, her son Pax's walk there will be paved with obstacles, mainly from other drivers.
They're speeding around corners and going just a little, they're going really fast.
It's why the neighbors here in Kenwick decorated 40 signs to be placed in front yards.
Master Yoda.
Recently we've had a lot of speeders, one that was going pretty fast down their street.
Yeah, wild girl.
And it kind of sparked the idea.
While each individual sign has a different saying, all really just carry the same message, which is to slow down.
Hey, this makes purple.
Jones hopes brightly painted signs will get the point across and trigger something in drivers' minds to get them to think about their speed.
I hope that this will help kids feel more safe. Hope that it will help neighbors watch out for our kids.
In Lexington,
Go slow.
Rebecca Smith, WKYT.
Well, it certainly catches your attention. The folks living there in Kenwick are planning to keep the signs up for 6 weeks. At that point, they may give them to other neighbors to put up in their yards.
A fundraising processor admits to stealing money from nonprofits, religious organizations, and political campaigns. 52-year-old Samuel Pate pleaded guilty today to stealing $1.1 million raised for the groups between 2008 and last year. One of those groups was the McConnell Senate campaign. Pate was accused of misappropriating nearly $120,000 from Senator Mitch McConnell's campaign. Pate was supposed to process political donations, but investigators say he used the money to buy jewelry, cars, and even vacation homes. He'll be sentenced in November. For the first time since 2009, Kentucky's Unemployment Insurance Trust has a positive balance. Governor Steve Beshear announced today that the Commonwealth has paid off a $972 million loan 2 years ahead of schedule. Originally, the loan was needed to meet unemployment insurance benefit obligations during the Great Recession. The positive balance means Kentucky employers will save about $165 million in federal UI taxes.
We want to make sure that we build the fund up sufficiently so that if and when we do have another downturn, and you always have another downturn, that our fund will have sufficient funds in it that we won't find ourselves in the same position as we found ourselves in 2009.
At the height of the recession in June 2009, Kentucky's unemployment rate hit a high of 10.9%.
It sounded like the perfect job. Not a lot of heavy lifting, but a decent paycheck. But as Sam Dick reports, the job was really a scam, and the money was flowing out of the victim's pocket instead of in.
Frustrated, anger, lots of anger.
Dwayne Moore was trying to make some extra money on top of his day job, so he answered a mystery shopper mailing. The job seemed manageable.
You see how they greet you. If you need help finding something, how was that sales clerk helping you find something? Then you go to the cashier and write the experience about the cashier.
He was instructed to go online, rank the service. He was told he would be reimbursed for the money spent. He received a check for more than he spent, so he was able to deduct what he owed and send the rest back. He did, and then the bank contacted him with surprising news.
It's a fraudulent check, we believe. They took it back out of your bank and sent it back to the bank it was. I'm like, so what am I supposed to do? They're like, well, you owe this much money.
Dwayne owed $1,300.
I'm always working, but it seems like with this incident, it just set me back a lot.
A bank has up to 1 year to come after you for different fees or bad checks, and a lot of people aren't aware of that. They think that, okay, well, the check went through, so it's good, and that's not the case.
Postal inspectors say you're always responsible for the checks you cash, even if they are counterfeit.
The best line of defense is know the source of your check.
Dwayne says he's learned a lesson and now shreds all of the sweepstakes mail that arrives at his home.
As far as mystery shoppers and all that, never again. I don't care if it's worth $1 million. I'm done with it.
That was our Sam Dick reporting. After several months, Dwayne was able to pay off and settle his account with the bank. Some advice from postal inspectors: if you are considering a mystery shopper or work at home opportunity, contact the Better Business Bureau to learn more about the company or research the firm online.